Through the journey of Trek Nation, the documentary, I've discovered more of who I was. And I knew I wasn't going to be Gene Roddenberry. Of course, no one could be Gene Roddenberry, and I did not want to be Gene Roddenberry. But I truly loved Star Trek, and I love Star Trek today, and it's not just the TV shows, but more than anything, the philosophy, the ideology. I want that future to be our future. We do not have to have starships that are named Enterprise, but I want humanity to succeed in that way. Essentially, the foundation was my way of saying, well, if I'm not going to create something that's entertainment based, that inspires people, maybe we can put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and create an entity that finds these individuals, finds these organizations that are working towards the long-term advancement of our species.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to IDIC is Pro-Immigrant, a Creating the Star Trek Future live stream hosted by the Roddenberry Foundation in partnership with Roddenberry Entertainment. My name is Sabrina Cartan and I am the Roddenberry Ambassador. I work with the Roddenberry Foundation to connect Star Trek fans to the issues that matter most right now and to social impact and philanthropy work. Tonight, I am joined by some incredible folks who are joining us from the Star Trek community and from Roddenberry. Also, I am hearing that there is no video, so I apologize for that. I will fix that technical difficulty, but I'm just going to keep talking. We're doing it live. I'd like to introduce our guests tonight. First, I would like to start with Lisa Maria Rhodes. Can we see Lisa Maria? Let us know in the comments because we're relying on your feedback. I mean, I can see Lisa Maria, so I'm just going to go ahead and say Lisa Maria Rhodes is an educator and the founder and executive director of ALAS, an organization that frequently works with children and teens impacted by the immigration court system. Lisa Maria also founded the New Orleans Young Colombians group Reunión de la Juventud Colombiana, I'm struggling with my Spanish, and the NOLA Educators Support Immigrants Students Network. And she is a 2024 Roddenberry Fellow. Welcome, Lisa Maria. It's so good to see you.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Okay, great to know everyone can see Lisa Maria. I am not the most important part of this, so I'll just be a voice of God right now. It's giving the computer from Star Trek. So let's just do that. It's giving Majel Barrett Roddenberry. If only I could live up to that standard. So we will figure out my camera situation. But for now, welcome, Lisa Maria. I would also love to welcome our next guest, Jonathan Del Arco. Welcome, Jonathan. Jonathan is an actor, activist, and the co-author of Freddy the Alien, a heartwarming book for young readers about embracing who you are and your place in the world. Jonathan immigrated to the US from Uruguay at age 10 and has since had a prolific career in film and television. You've seen him in shows such as The Sopranos, The Closer, and 24. But personally, I would say he's best known to all of us as Trekkies as Hugh in Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek Picard. Welcome, welcome, Jonathan.
So honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I hope everyone can see Jonathan too. We'll see who we can see and who we can't see. And I would like to introduce our next guest, the fabulous, the incredible, the prolific Jeri Ryan. Jeri is a celebrated actor known for playing pretty powerful and badass women. You've seen her in shows including Boston Public, Body of Proof, and NCIS, as well as 2.5 Men and many, many others. But she's perhaps best known to all of us for her iconic portrayal of Seven of Nine in Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Picard. Welcome, Jeri. It's such an honor to see you and to have you here.
Thank you.
And to have you and Jonathan and to talk about your friendship, and we'll get into all of that. But I have one more guest who I know very well that we'd like to have do our opening remarks. Eugene Roddenberry, aka Rod, is a producer of Star Trek and the founder of the Roddenberry Foundation. And incredible person who we could not do all of this without him. So, he needs no further introduction, and I will leave it to Rod to give his remarks. Can you hear us, Rod?
I don't think you can. That's the international symbol.
Yeah. Oh no. Maybe it's the headphones. Yeah. We're doing great. You can't see me and you can't hear Rod. How's everyone doing tonight? How are you feeling? Where are you calling in from, first of all?
All right.
You remember when we did this every day during the pandemic, like 5 times a day?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Flashbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, severe.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Rod. He was just with us too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is I am working with Rod to get this fixed. I apologize. This has not happened with live streams with us before, but with the internet in the post-pandemic age, you never really know what's going to happen. So I guess with these live streams, anything goes. And we did tech and everything. Anyway, I would love to talk a little bit while we're waiting and seeing what's going on. I'd love to just jump into the first question, which is, what does IDIC mean to you? So IDIC means generally infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. I think for a lot of people, maybe who are multiracial or come from multiple backgrounds. To me, as a multiracial person, IDIC means celebration of diversity that creates new combinations. But I would love to start with Lisa Maria as our immigration expert. What does IDIC mean to you?
Well, I'll start off by saying that I live in New Orleans, and what would our food be without infinite combinations and diversity? And I'm sure all of us can think about dishes from different cultures that we love and that we look forward to. But for me, IDIC is a big part of my identity as someone who's Colombian American. And as a Roddenberry Fellow, and having had the opportunity through Roddenberry to be a fellow, I started a nonprofit called Alas, where we created a fellow modeled after the Roddenberry Fellowship for young people, ages 14 to 24. And so within our organization, IDIC means that we respect, we celebrate, and we learn more about each other's cultures, about each other's backgrounds. And we make room for the gifts that everybody has to offer because we all have so many.
Amazing. Jonathan, would you like to jump in?
Well, very much like Lisa, as an immigrant, I came here when I was 10, and I definitely didn't fit in to the structure of the area I moved to in New York, the community that I moved into. Even within the Latino community, my Uruguayan culture was very alien to them. My accent was alien to them. The way I dressed was alien to them. So even within the Latino culture, I also wasn't, I didn't have the same skin pigmentation as a lot of other Latinos. So they would otherize me as well because I looked white. I didn't look like I was a Latino in the concept of the kids, what the kids knew. So I always understood what it felt like to look at the world from an outsider's perspective. And on top of which, I was gay and not out of the closet at 10. I didn't even know what gay was at 10. I just knew I was different. And so there were all these layers of infinite diversity within myself. And so to have had the privilege as an actor early on in my career to be lucky enough to land on a series like Star Trek, where these concepts were not only central to the storytelling, but they created a world where we not only acknowledge people's differences, but really honor them and elevate them. Certainly Jeri and I at the cons, we meet a huge spectrum of people from every imaginable career space to racial background, all of it. It's all there in the Star Trek fandom, and it's very, very exciting to be in those spaces with people that have stories that are different than mine, because it's a great opportunity to learn and grow. So that's what it means to me. I feel incredibly lucky, Rod, to have had the honor to be a part of, your family's legacy with Star Trek. And so, I feel very lucky.
Okay.
I appreciate that, Jonathan. I do have to say that, as a kid watching Next Generation, which I did watch as a legitimate fan, I have to say that episode was definitely one of my favorites, certainly when it came to what to do in the end. And that was for me, the epitome of Star Trek when they decide, and I know there's a lot of controversy and debate as to what should have been done, but for me, true Star Trek is to have made that choice. To recognize and identify that character, that entity, that life form as its own sovereign being outside of the Borg. And of course, same thing for you, Jeri. You had a very similar experience in terms of your story and character. But this is the backbone of Star Trek. I mean, this is why I wanted to be a part of this. This is why before I had audio issues, I wanted to sort of intro this and say, IDIC is the backbone of Star Trek. When I speak about Star Trek, I'm not speaking about a TV show. I am speaking of our potential. For those of you out there who are admirers of the show and who watch it, I think a lot of you get it. Some of you might just say, well, it's just a TV show. And sure, it is. But it also has great messaging. I'm not asking anyone here or telling anyone they should revere it, but it is an idea of what we could be one day, and the kinds of people and the kinds of decisions we could make, and how we should act to each other. And your characters were just foreigners, essentially. And this idea of a foreigner who had such a different culture, a Borg, that we couldn't understand and was somewhat hostile. But from their point of view, assimilation was just the way they procreated and grew and advanced their species. I love that you can have a bad guy, so to speak, the Borg, and then understand them. I mean, that truly is what Star Trek is about. The IDIC message and everything that's in your book, Jonathan, your life. Again, I don't know your life, but of course you've told me some stories. That is why I love Star Trek, not because of what I necessarily see on television, but because of the ideals that it espouses and the ideals that the points of view that it gives us. You watch an episode and hopefully at the end, if it's good Star Trek, you say, you know what? I never thought of it that way. Maybe I will add that. We're getting into the Borg territory here of assimilation. I will add that uniqueness to my own thought process and evolve myself. And so I'm it's an honor, it's a privilege to be able to say a few things. I'm pretty much going to cut it off there and say, Jeri, Jonathan, Lisa, thank you so much for being a part of this. Your stories on and off screen and your background are really true to the Star Trek philosophy. And again, I can't thank you enough. So I'm gonna leave it there and let you guys take it away. But thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for sticking with us through.
Hang on, my daughter's earpods disconnected. So
oh, no worries.
Let me text her. That is not going to work.
Yeah.
I think tonight's just a night where we're going to give ourselves.
She got it. Okay.
We're going to give ourselves.
Not to be woo-woo, but Mercury is in retrograde.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta put that on my calendar.
It's the planet of communication. So
you learn all these things from watching Star Trek for so many years, and then you never actually learn to take them. So I appreciate all of you. No, Mercury. We've got, by the way, if you're following along on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, you can leave comments, and those comments might appear on screen. It's like pop-up video, but for modern stuff. Remember pop-up video. Remember it.
Yes, you.
Anyway,
Most of us old enough, we remember.
So we're going to get right into it. Jeri and Jonathan, you have this wonderful friendship, and we're going to talk about the book and about Star Trek. But first, I actually want to start with something that's happening on the ground. I want to talk to Lisa Maria about immigrant communities and what they're facing right now. We're speaking with an expert. If you don't know the Roddenberry Foundation and the Roddenberry Fellowship in particular, the fellowship program brings together leaders and experts and activists from around the U.S. who are helping create a more just and equal society. And they're really doing the work on the ground, but that work is making a massive impact. So Lisa Maria, you work primarily with children who are affected by the court system. Some of them, it's not just immigrants. Some of them are affected by the criminal court system, but you originally started out with the focus on immigration court. Could you talk a little bit about that and what your clients and beneficiaries are seeing happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Our students and families are really experiencing a tremendous amount of threat, danger, dehumanization, and the resulting fear that comes from that. Like seeing constant clips in the news and hearing personal accounts of loved ones experiencing profiling and violence towards parents and children has resulted in children being absent from school, parents being absent from work. We primarily work with high school and young adult aged, and a few of our young people have been deported, and several have seen their parents detained or deported. One of our youth who just graduated from high school in May, the day after, became the head of his household for 3 younger siblings because his father was detained and afterwards deported. And so what I see is people go into survival mode, and it robs us all of the opportunity of thriving and sharing gifts and talents. As humans, we're created in the image of the divine, and we are called to love one another, welcome one another, protect one another, seek justice for one another. So when it comes to like belonging and hope, our youth really focus on internal healing, interpersonal relationship building, and institutional change making. And so what we see right now is we see incredible creativity and compassion and love despite incredible odds throughout our immigrant communities in this moment.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And you talked about, you used the word belonging, which is what we've been talking about, as a group and thinking about immigration and the immigrant experience and, how do we help, especially young immigrants, belong? So that brings me to Jonathan. You wrote this incredible book, which we will bring up. Do you want to hold it up so people can see? Let's get you on the spotlight. Yeah, Freddy the Alien.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful book.
Yeah. So while you're doing this, do you want me to bring up some pages?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm going to do this. It'll just be like this little overlay here. We can't see your face, but we can see the book. So that is a gorgeous cover. Tell us a little bit about Freddy the Alien while we walk.
So it's essentially my immigration story. With some creative additions to the journey. And it talks about how it sort of speaks to the experience of leaving one culture and kind of landing in the middle of another one at an age where you already developed your personality as a 10-year-old. And so there's the culture shock element of moving to a new culture. And then there's also the assimilation, no pun intended, element of how you can figure out a way to belong to this new culture. And we also have the issue, you see it in this image of bullying, which I experienced as a little boy, and being called an alien and a freak and to go home. And I think that a lot of immigrant children do face some of this even today in school, never mind what's happening on the macro sort of governmental level. My experience with immigration was back in the 70s. So it wasn't a governmental issue as much as it was a cultural issue, right? Where I didn't really speak the language. My English was, as I say in this page, es muy malo. My English wasn't very good. And it was hard for me to pursue the things that I wanted to pursue, which I wanted to be an actor since I was very little. But in the course of that, I had a teacher that I feature in the book who saw that quality, who saw my talent and my uniqueness and really invested in me and involving me in the school plays. And that's where I really began to flourish as a person, as a little boy. that's where I began to find friends within that theater community where I felt safe. And my story ends in the book as a lesson to children that in the end of the day, though I felt like I was an alien because I was different, I ended up actually becoming a really cool alien because I ended up on Star Trek.
Yeah. And look, not to put too fine a point on it, but, you know, especially with the font you can see in that book, it's very close to a font we all recognize. But you really take the idea of alien as a metaphor. Like, alien is a dirty word in the sense of, you know, we would never, if you care about immigrants, if they are undocumented, you would never say that, right? But I think it's so interesting that you use that word to challenge stereotypes, to challenge notions that people have about immigrants, where they come from, whether they belong, what are they doing here. Why did you choose that? I mean, obviously there's
because that word has once again been weaponized and turned against us. You know, when you hear administration talk about undocumented people, which for years that's how we referred to people that came here without documents, they're now illegal aliens. You know, that's the language that is being used against us. And to me, the idea of being alien is something to be proud of, right? Because it has a connotation of coming from a place with very special things. In the book, I go into the cultural things about Uruguay that were special that I missed, you know, and it's about owning my culture, you know, and owning that, in fact, I am now an American in that I've, you know, been naturalized and have lived a very almost stereotypical all-American life, but you can't, and I don't want you to take away my culture and my background and the things I have to offer have to do with the fact that I was born in a different culture, in a different country that values other things that are in some ways as important or more important than the things that are valued here. So it's a play on the word. And of course, because one of my biggest jobs as an actor was being an alien. So I thought it was a fun way to use that word in a way that is disarming.
Well said. So, Jeri, I think we jumped right in, and I love this comment from Heather Ray Barker, the host of the Trektivism podcast. I really love this, and you should listen. You should listen to Trektivism if you haven't yet. But Jeri, we kind of jumped right into Rod's intro and trying to figure out his intro. But I would love to ask you to tie that loose end on IDIC. You know, what does IDIC mean to you? And then, you know, what was your reaction as a longtime friend and collaborator of Jonathan, as someone who has seen him, you know, grow throughout his career and find a voice as an activist and, you know, as an immigrant? You know, what does this all mean to you?
Oh my God.
It's a big question.
That's a big question. That was a compound question. Okay. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. First of all, that's the entire basis of Star Trek. That is what it's all about. And in so many ways it resonates, because not only is that what, you know, that's what they went out to explore. That's what they went out to. Even the villains, I mean, the Borg, arguably one of the biggest villains, even they recognized the value of diversity and differences. They didn't like individuality, but that's why they assimilated everyone. They wanted the differences. They wanted everyone's input. They want your what is it? Biological and technological differences distinctiveness will be assimilated and added to our own. They understood and appreciated that every difference added value to the collective. They even got that. How are we running counter to that? When our own government is running counter to that, there's a problem. When the Borg can see a benefit that we're not even seeing, then we got a problem.
When our government is worse than the Borg, like that, the bar is. I mean, that's so low.
Yeah, it's pretty low. So, I mean, it's a pretty clear indicator of the value of diversity. And you know, my dad is an immigrant. He's from, you know, Germany and Austria and Czechoslovakia. His family. My husband's an immigrant. He's French. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than this blend of cultures and this blend of all this beautiful difference. It's just, that's what makes us rich. And that's what we were founded on. I mean, that's the basis of our country. Nope. The Native Americans were the only ones who were here to begin with. We're all immigrants. We all came from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So it's hypocritical to think that we belong and no one else does. I mean, anyway. Yeah, that was long-winded, and I got a little heated. Sorry. Anyway, okay. But my Johnny, I'm incredibly proud of, and I love him desperately. And his book is beautiful, 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 and it made me cry when I was reading it, and it's lovely. Oh, so you all need to see it because it really is beautiful.
Well, I love that for you. And I love your friendship. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Borg. But I just wanted to point out, I did see a lot of comments. And I think that there are a lot of fans, obviously who agree and are kind of on the same page as a lot of us. But then there are folks who talk about legal immigration versus undocumented immigration. And I think what I see is that there's this really weird slippery slope where there's just a lot of overall anti-immigrant hate coming up. And I would love to ask Lisa Maria, what are you seeing, what do you wish more people understood about the challenges of trying to become documented? Because I think there's this misunderstanding where people think, oh, people come here and then they don't try and they're not working hard enough. Can you enlighten these people who say, well, you've been here for X number of years and why aren't you a citizen yet?
Well, sure. Immigration policy and laws are really complex, and it's worth it for all of us to stay updated on this, because no matter how much of an expert we can be, it's always changing. And so the first thing I'd like to highlight is that laws are not always just. And when we look back at history, we can see in different moments of time that things that were laws were unjust, that were dehumanized. And there are things that we had to change within this country and within other countries that we point to big moments of dehumanization, and they were often legal. And so first we have to interrogate, are we for what is legal or are we for what is just and true? And when our laws don't match that, it's time for advocacy to change those laws. And so that's step one. Step two would be, within the systems and structures that we have right now, there actually is not a path for everyone. There are many people who would like to do what's right or get in line or whatever the jargon is around doing things legally. And not everybody can actually do that, because there's actually not a path available to everyone. And then beyond that, there are plenty of people who are on that path and who are still being targeted, detained, violated, like physically violence is being incurred, towards them, and deported. And so even when people are trying to do whatever is in line with the laws are not always just, and the enforcement of the laws also is not always just.
They're rounding people up at courthouses.
Yeah.
They're rounding people up when they're going to their appointments for their immigration appointments at the courthouse.
And I think that when people say, I'm not anti-immigrant, I'm just anti-illegal immigration, it's a red herring. It has nothing to do with what they're anti. I'll tell you, my dad came here with papers, and for a while when I was younger, I was grappling with that same question about, well, why can't people come here legally? And then I realized very quickly that I actually was very privileged, that I had a father who had a skill in which he was able to get papers to come here, and how much respect I have, and how much harder it is to venture into the way people have to get here if they don't have papers, the courage it takes, what they must be leaving, and the hope they must have that America could provide the gifts of what we believe this country at its best to be. I have so much respect for someone that takes that journey, that takes their kids across, Latin America through a river to get here, to come into an abyss of nothingness. Like that is my privilege should not impede someone else from having that experience. And I think it's incredibly short-sighted for people that say that about migration, because as the environment gets worse, we may find ourselves having to migrate somewhere else for water in our lifetime. that is not out of the realm of possibility that we're going to have climate migration happening in the next 50 or 60 years. So it's I don't buy into that whole idea of legal. Every immigrant I've ever met in this country has the desire to come and work, and work very, very hard to make a living and to pay for their children's education and their children's food. How are we as Americans to ever judge that? It's so hypocritical to me. It's just incredibly hypocritical. And the notion that is also thrown out that they're taking jobs away. Whose jobs are they taking away? Who do they think is going to do the jobs that the immigrant community is doing in this country? I'm telling you, it's very short-sighted, and on a practical level, these policies are going to hit us right in the ass, So that's my soapbox on that one.
And I would say, like, it's incredibly cruel that the children seem to suffer the most. And that's something that comes across, it's not the main focus of Freddy the Alien, but it really shows how children are impacted by the bullying. You see it happening in the discourse on an adult level, and then it kind of bleeds down into kids getting picked on at school. I have some friends over at an organization called Reimagining Migration, and they talk about how migration, I like that you use that term because it's our shared history, right? Everyone, Jeri, to your point, you're not an immigrant, but your father was an immigrant.
Yeah.
Your grandparents are immigrants. Like my father was an immigrant. My grandparents were immigrants.
Exactly.
Everyone, whether or not you're an immigrant, you benefit in some way. You've benefited from immigration.
Exactly.
One has that history.
Yeah.
To some extent. And if you don't, if you're indigenous to the land, that, that's a different thing, right?
Well, look what was done to them.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they had a completely different approach to the land and relationship to the land. But we've talked a little bit about the landscape and the problems that we're seeing, and a little bit about Star Trek and the book. I would like to talk about taking action and how we foster belonging and hope through the ideas of IDIC. So first, I just want to ask Jeri and Jonathan, what do you feel like you've learned from each other about IDIC and belonging through your friendship? Let's hear a little bit more about the two of you.
Well, for me, as someone who is, diverse, you can't have a better ally than Jeri. As a human, she is someone who always stands up for the underdog, and always is the one to I've seen her get mama hen on people that when someone's rights are being taken away or something unfair is happening, Jeri is the first to step in a very strong way. And it's one of the things I love so much about you, is that quality you have of going, that is not fucking fair, and I'm speaking up.
Well, a lot of that I've gotten from you, though. You've given me the courage. No, because you've given me the courage to do that. Because I don't seem like I'm necessarily an introvert, but believe me when I tell you, for the most part, I really am. And so, speaking out is not necessarily my first choice, and speaking publicly is not necessarily my first choice, and speaking extemporaneously is definitely not my first choice. And so I've had to learn to do that, and to find my voice, and to do that. And I've done that in the last few years, and it wasn't necessarily easy, but when things are important, and Johnny, you were sort of my inspiration and sort of my guide in finding that strength and learning how to do that, because it's important, and you do have to do it.
I think you always had it. You just didn't politicize it, because what I saw in you on our private moments was when an injustice happened, you were like, no way on my time.
Yeah.
So that was already innately you.
Yes.
I just pushed you to put it forward.
Yes.
Politically, but you've always had that quality.
Yeah.
That I love about you. So.
I just want to jump in and say that we are getting ready for a brief Q&A. So if you have questions and would like to drop them in the comments, start thinking of them now, because maybe any of our guests will answer your questions. So,
and by the way, some of these comments that have been popping up, you guys are beautiful. So thank you for all of those. They've been really, really, really lovely.
Yes. And I don't know if I'm seeing all of the comments, but or if our backstage moderators are doing a great job, but I have not seen so much hate. I've not seen anything but love and acceptance and all of the things that I was hoping to see. So go team. Lisa Maria, I actually want to turn to you and ask you about, if there are some concrete things that Trekkies, maybe people who are not experts, who've never taken action, or, they have, but they just are not that versed in immigration reform or anything like that. What are a few things that people can do to support the work that you do and to support the work of your friends in immigrants' rights work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first and most concrete thing that everybody could do is make a donation. This Giving Tuesday is coming up, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And anytime is a good time to support organizations that are supporting immigrants and young people. If you would like to do that with ours, we're at freealas.org. But you could do that with organizations in your area. Right now, with there being so much focus on immigrant communities and ICE activity, you can also reach out to those organizations and find out how you can learn about filming ICE and join neighborhood watch groups. It's really important to have people who are available who can step out of their office or of their house for even just 5 minutes, because when there's a camera, it creates more accountability, and it means that likely officers will have that measure of accountability to act with at least a little bit more humanity. And then there will be a video to be able to prove what happened, so it's not one person's account versus the other. So joining neighborhood watch groups is really important right now. And then I would say on a personal level, really recognizing that we all have assumptions. That's part of our psychology as humans, and challenging your assumptions by talking to people, asking to hear their stories, asking to learn a little bit instead of assuming that we know. It's a really important step so that our minds can continuously open and hear what are the hopes and dreams of those around us? What do we have in common? What do we have different that we can celebrate or learn from or help each other through?
Amazing. And then Jonathan, if you have anything in particular, and I'm going to go ahead and share the link, freddythealien.com, if that's where you want to go.
So obviously I would love to get, this book into as many little hands as possible. I would love my immigrant children to have the book so that they can have some hope. I would love non-immigrant children to have the book so that they can have some compassion. Yes. And understanding that other cultures have something to give and offer. I even think adults can learn a thing or two about immigration and immigrants from this little book. And hopefully that will play itself out. It's available wherever you get your books, as they say. I don't like to promote the big evil Amazon, but it is there. But you get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at, I have a link of freddythealien.com. You could go there and it'll be a direct author link. You could buy the book directly from there. And if you're an adult and you want to buy the book and just gift it to a kid or to a school or a library, do so. I'll be doing lots of school readings. I've been reading the book. I went to Chicago and read to a couple of schools. It was a beautiful experience. Children's imaginations are to be cherished. The biggest question was what planet I'm from and how old I am. And I told them aliens have no age. And then when they persisted, I gave them a star date. So that really confused them. But, I'm hoping conversations keep getting started by this little book.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to actually ask you to add on to that. How do you hope that an immigrant child will feel when they read this book?
I hope it opens up their dreams. I always write dream big in the books when I'm signing it for a kid. Like, I hope it expands their thinking of what they could be or what they could do. Because I think there's so many I think we're told by so many people in general what we can't do, what we don't have the capacity to do, what we don't have the skills to do, our grades aren't good enough to go to us. This happened to my sister when she was an immigrant, of course, as well as myself. She wanted to be a doctor, and the school she went to kept telling her she couldn't get into UCLA because we didn't have money. We weren't a wealthy family. Well, she got into UCLA, on her own merits. So, I think immigrant children need to see an example of what their lives could be. And I hope might provide that in some degree. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm just an actor, but but some people would say that that's a good career, yeah, just hope.
Amazing. I love this comment. Get yourself a friendship like Jeri and Jonathan.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And Jeri, is there anything, not just in terms of immigration, but, is there an account or a group or an organization that's giving you hope, that makes you want to take action, that you think we should follow?
Oh God, of course I'm going to go blank now. I can't think of somebody specific right now. There are so many, and there are we just all need to pay attention right now. There is so much going on. Yeah, I'm going to blank out and not be able to tell you a specific thing, but we need to be awake right now. We need to keep our eyes open. We need to be paying attention to what's happening, because there's some dark shit happening right now. And this is not a time to look away. And this is not a time to not pay attention and think that this is politics as usual. And, I'm not political and I don't really follow. We have to pay attention, because this is not normal, what's happening right now. It's not.
Yeah.
And we've got to start looking out for each other, looking out for our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And we've got to be awake.
Right on.
You know that famous poem? I don't know it by heart, but first they came for this
group,
and there was no one left to speak for me when they came for me. I think
we're there.
I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So, but I am really encouraged by the way people have stood up. Mm-hmm. In Chicago with the whistles and the way people organized around stopping ICE from treating people like animals. I'm encouraged by the way the populace has stood up. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are going to get into some questions. You can ask about immigration reform. You can ask Lisa Maria about her work. You can ask about Star Trek, anything that you want about Star Trek, Jeri and Jonathan. Probably not two VIX questions. That's not super relevant here. I mean, you could, but I don't know that would be helpful. So feel free to drop your questions in and we will answer them. So I see a question from Amy Imhoff, 3200. Amazing Star Trek influencer / space gal. If you don't know Amy, she's amazing.
Right.
So she has a question for Jeri. How are you continuing your activism through SAG?
Well, I am on the national board this year, and we're working hard to do what we can to staunch the flow of this AI scary crap that's going on, and we're doing what we can to bring work back to Los Angeles and work back to America in general, because so much of it is going overseas. Mm. So we're plugging away. We'll see what we can do.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thank you, Amy. And this is a question that's about immigration policy. Lisa Maria, I don't know if you want to take this one, or anyone who wants to answer this. So what does the panel think might be the best, most politically achievable way forward in terms of immigration policies that are fair, humane, and sustainable?
That's a very good question.
Very good question. But I presume that there are some things that Lisa Maria, in your experience, would be helpful to your clients and to the folks you work with.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I think first it's important that we learn about the zero-sum theory and the challenges inherent with that. Like when we operate from a scarcity mindset that says we don't have enough and we're all in competition with one another, it puts us at odds. But in reality, we live in a place with a lot of resources and there is enough for everyone. And so when we start to take that approach and we start to ask and incorporate, what do our neighbors need? What does each other need? It doesn't have to mean that you have to go without for the next person to have. It just means that we allocate differently. And so right now, it means that we're opposing some of the policies and standing up to the policies that this administration is putting out. But more long term, it looks like looking for immigration that there is a path for everyone. And so there's a way for everybody to be naturalized over time. And a really important one would be public defenders and immigration court. You may or may not know that, if you're arrested and you can't afford an attorney, a public defender would represent you. And that's not true in immigration court. And so when there's not the access to legal representation, it means that people don't have an opportunity to fight their, like the rate that kids are able to win their cases is 8%, because if they're not able to afford an attorney, that means that they're not versed in the legal jargon necessary. And so it's really important to have public defenders in immigration court. And that's a policy that would create fairness and justice for all.
Thank you, Lisa Maria. Here's on a different note. Vanessa asks, any more talks going on about Star Trek Legacy? We want Captain Seven.
Nothing in the immediate future that I know of, no.
All right. Well, we had to ask anyway. General question for any of the guests. Do any of you know, or are you a part of the 50501 movement?
Yeah, I am aware of it. I love them. I think they're great. So I'm certainly following them.
Great. Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that might be all of the questions that we have for now. Oh, 7 of 9 spinoff question mark?
I can't. There was one that was pitched to me that was not Legacy, actually. That I can't talk a lot about it. But that I passed on immediately after Picard finished for a few reasons. It just did not seem like the right fit. But you know what? This also goes back to Legacy. If there's one thing that I have learned with Star Trek, it is never say never, because I had thought that I had long said goodbye to this character before, and then there I was back on Picard. So who knows? You know what? Maybe some day down the pike, Legacy will come back around. Who knows? Never say never. So we'll see.
We have a great question actually for all of you. Lisa Maria, I'm actually not sure if you're a Trekkie or if you watch a lot of Star Trek. That's not a requirement.
Oh boy.
The Roddenberry Foundation actually does not give preference to Trekkies on these things, although there are a lot of Trekkies who are beneficiaries, who are grantees of the foundation. But if all of you have a favorite episode or a character that teaches empathy, we'd love to know.
I could start with the empath.
Remember,
comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's the episode "The Inner Light." It's a beautiful, beautiful episode. In some ways, it's about the topics we're talking about, because it's a society that's about to lose everything, right? And my heart really connected to that story, The Inner Light. So that was my favorite.
I don't know. I'm bad. I don't really remember any of that. I'm really bad.
No, it's okay. I mean, I would rather say character. So I think Data actually in Next Generation, I think about him as someone who teaches empathy because he is trying to understand people, because he has to work so much harder than everyone else. And I think that there's so much beauty, you see the beauty of humanity in his trying to striving for humanity. And he knows that humans are imperfect, and he knows that we mess up all the time, but that doesn't fascinate him any less. It makes me love being a person a little bit more.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And so someone said, Tara said, every episode teaches empathy. That's what it's all about.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Good point. You're right.
And then we have more questions coming in, and then I think we'll wrap it up. But curiosity being the opposite of fear from backpacking dad. How can we inspire?
I'm backpacking dad. I know you.
Dad. We love a backpacking dad. How can we inspire fearful people to have curiosity about vulnerable communities? So fear of the unknown.
Yeah. How can we? That's a great question. Somebody tell me.
I think it's really important that we meet people where they are. So like our organization does educator trainings, and our youth go and they train educators, and they're the ones in the front, and the teachers are all sitting in the cafeteria or the auditorium. And we'll have teachers sometimes ask questions that demonstrate that they're closed and they're not open to immigrant youth. And that's something that we work really hard on, asking questions and understanding where they're coming from. Why do they have that sentiment? I mean, we have to also replicate that curiosity to understand what is this fear rooted in so that we can understand it. And then we can, start to debunk that. But walking alongside people doesn't only mean like, hi, you come and walk alongside me. It means I'll come and walk alongside you too. I want to understand, where is that fear coming from? What happened? What did you hear? What did you see? What were you told? And maybe by me learning that, then I know where my entry point is.
Well, to me, it's kind of the whole reason I wrote my story is I believe in the power of storytelling, especially sharing a personal story as opposed to a fictional one. I think people respond to people's stories because, in fact, we're all very much alike. As humans, we share very, very similar qualities. And have the same fears and the same, insecurities about the world and about life. And I think when people share their story, perhaps those that are more narrow-minded or afraid can say, hey, that's just like me. I felt I was an outsider too, or I'm scared about this as well. So it creates connectivity. That's why I love theater. You go to the theater, or you go to a movie, and you watch a story, and you could sympathize and empathize with the characters because they're speaking human truth. So having the courage to share our own personal stories in whatever way that means, whether it's one-on-one sharing our stories with people, or on a bigger scale, writing your story, publishing your story, or teaching your story, is a great way to break a lot of that boundary that people have in fear, the fear wall that people put up, and it sort of destroys the lies, right? That because I think that communities that are marginalized get labeled certain ways, and they become the boogeyman. And I think when you really hear a human story, you realize they're just like you, and so it diffuses that weapon.
Right on. Well, we are just about to wrap it up. I love Heather Ray Barker's comment here. Thanks to everyone for being such great activists and Trektivists. I could not have said all of this better myself. Before we sign off, I was hoping that each of you could share something that you want to plug and where we can follow your amazing work on the interwebs. So Lisa Maria.
Yes, I would love if you could follow us on Instagram or Facebook at free.alas. That's free.alas. And our website is also freealas.org. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Amazing.
I'm at Jonathan Del Arco. At Jonathan Del Arco is my Instagram, and my Instagram's the only thing I'm really active on these days. And if you're interested in the book, I have events coming up where I'm going to be reading the book, and I'm about to do a big campaign with the Human Rights Campaign with the book, and I'll be reading it to all of LAUS, the entire LA school system in February.
Yay!
Yeah, so we're really getting the book out, and I have a partnership with this great organization that is an LGBTQ organization, which interestingly enough, they see the value in the book as well, even though the character is officially out. So that's what's going on. I've been doing a lot of writing, and I did a short film that should be in the short film festivals next year. But that's about all.
Amazing. And also Tara Pollen commented, is Jonathan selling autographed copies for charity? Hint, hint.
A really good idea. At this point, I'm only doing autographs at book events and at the conventions, and it's self-published. So the mechanism of doing the shipping and all that, it needs to be figured out. But at some point, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And then, Jeri, where can we find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads.
Yes. And what are you?
And I'm on Facebook, but I don't go on Facebook. Oh, and let me take this opportunity while I've got you guys here. If anyone thinks that they are having direct messages from me or conversations from me or anything like that, it is not me. It is not. There are so many fake accounts and there are so many spam things. And I've even had people contacting my manager and sending him copies of videos that are AI, that they actually look just like me and sound just like me, that have been sent to them. It is not me. I can assure you, you are not talking to me, guys. I am not having a DM or conversation with anyone. I promise you.
Not even me.
I'm really not that big on it. But if I am not personally following you, I can assure you, if I don't know you personally, we're not talking. So I'm just, please know that, because there are a lot of people and they're asking for money and you are not talking to me. So I'm sorry, it's not happening. But just know that, because a lot of people are getting scammed and it's not cool. So I just want to put that out there and let everybody know that there are a lot of fake accounts going around right now. And there's
the one and only Jeri Ryan, accept no substitutions. If you think you're talking to Jeri, it's probably not.
I'm sorry, it's not.
Is there anything you want to promote, plug, etc.?
No, I am not working. I am trying to get my daughter off to college. So she's doing all her applications and I am trying to enjoy every second that I have with her before she goes to college and I become an empty nester. So,
Well, we will both be seeing people in Chicago this
weekend.
Yeah,
Chicago this weekend. So those of you in Chicago, we will see you there.
Go see Jonathan and Jeri in Chicago. They are delightful. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in tonight and who bore with us through all of the early technical hiccups. That's showbiz, babe. Follow the Roddenberry Foundation at the Roddenberry Foundation on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky. Where else? Probably YouTube. We're all over the place. And you can follow along to see more of these live streams. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.